So good news for the 4th-ranked Miami Hurricanes heading into their game against the Florida Gators, as head coach Mario Cristobal just announced at his press conference that running back Jordan Lyle and wide receiver JoJo Trader, who have both missed the last 2 games, will be available to play against the Gators.
Yeah, Jordan was ready at game time, and because he hadn't taken maybe as much work as we felt comfortable with, he didn't play, but he was ready to go. JoJo barely missed the cut to be ready, but he is ready to play this week at his full go.
Starting with Jordan Lyle, look, he started the opener against Notre Dame, which was great. He earned that starting spot, but he only had 5 carries for 11 yards, injured in the second quarter. We didn't see him the rest of that game or the last 2 games. But I do think that because of how this offense wants to operate with a running back cut by committee, although Mark Fletcher is certainly playing well, coming off the 120-yard game against USF, I do think that there will be opportunities for Jordan in this offense. I think he can help this offense with his speed element and just his ability to break off big runs, and they need other backs. Sure, they got Marty Brown, who they like, who we've seen, that they relied on to kind of close out that game against Notre Dame. But I think that they want to have at least 3 guys, or at least 2, but certainly 3. I could see all 3 of these guys getting in some action, but I think when Jordan does get in there, if it is against Florida, because again, coach said that they'll be available to play, but we'll see how much they're actually used. But with Jordan, I think he just has to take advantage of those opportunities. It's really important. The one thing with both of these guys, as they're trying to get back and really kind of get back into this offense, and look, it's an offense that's putting up yards and points, had nearly 600 yards of total offense last game in that 49-12 win against USF. With what Miami's trying to accomplish this year, they're not going to wait around for guys to get ready. When you get your opportunities, even if you're hurt, you got to get in there and you got to be ready to go if you're going to help this offense. I don't see this team showing a lot of patience with certain guys. It doesn't matter who it is, because they've got to keep this train rolling. They got to keep a lot of things going, and so it's going to be on these players to get back, get healthy, and make an impact. And then with JoJo, we'll see what kind of impact he can make. Look, he only played 9 snaps against Notre Dame, didn't play the last 2 games, and I didn't see him out there at the stadium going through pregame warm-ups. So we'll see. And look, it's kind of a little bit different in the wide receiver spot. They do need guys to step up, but these wide receivers took advantage of their opportunities last game. Keelan Marion's a guy that is trying to make a difference, make an impact, and he's a guy that led the team with 82 yards receiving, had 6 catches last game. Josh Moore, another guy, he had 2 touchdowns in the game. So these guys are trying to really be their top guys. Tony Johnson, a 51-yard catch. So, we can already see Malachi Toney and CJ Daniels have separated themselves as their top 2 receivers right now that they really want to rely on. But there's other receivers that they can go to. And Dawson said before the season started that they feel comfortable and confident to go to other guys. So JoJo, if he gets in there, it's really important for him. Doesn't matter how many snaps, but certainly he's got to be able to block well, because that's been a high point of emphasis. And Dawson has mentioned that the group is doing a good job. So you don't want to be the guy that's slacking in that area. But certainly JoJo's best attributes, his ability to catch the ball downfield, very athletic player. As we saw in the bowl game, he can catch a big pass and finish it off by getting into the end zone. And that's the kind of player I envision JoJo being. But he's got to be able to perform on game days. And Coach Dawson was mentioning in reference to Josh Moore that it is just different in games. Whatever you're doing in practice, and how it goes in games. So JoJo has to do it in a game. So we'll see what kind of opportunities he gets against Florida. Then there's a bye week, then that Florida State game. Again, Miami's playing these high-stakes games early on in the season. But look, it's another bye week after FSU. Then all of a sudden you're 5 games into it. Then you got Louisville, who certainly looks like a contender for the ACC. So, Miami with its schedule, with these other guys performing, it's going to be interesting to see how JoJo really does fit in. And maybe it's not going to be the season of high impact that he would have liked, that some envisioned. And look, I think very highly of JoJo. So, but we will see what kind of impact he can make. And at this point, any kind of contributions would be great, because I do think he does bring a little bit different elements to the offense, even though the offense has been performing well, particularly throwing the ball. Carson Beck is off to certainly a good start, completing nearly 80% of his passes.